Hey, it's John Nolan here. Listen, with everything that's going on in the world today, it's the perfect time to become self-sufficient, grow your own food if you can, and prepare with emergency food. You won't regret having this when you need it. And right now you can save $250 on a 3-month food kit from My Patriot Supply. It's their lowest price in 3 years. Go to preparewithinspired.com and get your $250 saving on this 3-month emergency food kit. That's preparewithinspired.com. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for liking, for commenting, for sharing, for subscribing, and for hitting the notifications button so you'll get notified about new videos. All right, today's topic is somewhat different because I've never talked about this in public before in the way I'm going to talk about it. As a matter of fact, I want to ask you really from the bottom of my heart to stick around for the whole video, or you will not get the full picture. And you might even be left kind of negative looking at this when this is really not the case. I've heard what I'm about to share with you from other very well-known speakers in this community, whether they want to call it freedom or truth community. Off camera, we've talked about this. There's almost a consensus around this, but very few will actually go on camera and share their assessment. But it's really important that we do that. We are in World War III. We're in the middle of it. And most people don't realize what this war is really about and what it's fought over. But more importantly, always more importantly, what the solution is, how we win, how we move forward, what it will bring positively to humanity. And so when you're assessing a situation, especially in a state of war, when you're assessing a situation, the thing you don't want to be is optimistic or creative while you're assessing a situation. The assessment part is not about a solution. It's about realizing what is. You have to be strategic, methodic, you have to observe well, and you have to make an objective, rational observation that you can then take as the foundation, the basis for the solution, for moving forward. And that's what we want to do in the first part of this video. So when we talk about World War III, it's really about man against machine, although most of mankind is not aware of this. This is what makes it very, very difficult. So I want to start somewhere that is highly connected to this, and I think we need to start here. And that is the question, why is the new vaccine technology that was rolled out over the past 2 years so highly important? And perhaps we should look at a video clip here that makes it clear just how important this is to the people behind the scenes, or the entities that think they can steer the world.
Why don't we blow this system up? I mean, obviously we can't just turn off the spigot on the system we have and then say, hey, everyone in the world should get this new vaccine we haven't given to anyone yet. But there must be some way that we grow vaccines mostly in eggs, the way we did in 1947.
In order to make the transition from getting out of the tried and true egg growing, which we know gives us results that can be, beneficial. I mean, we've done well with that, to something that has to be much better. You have to prove that this works. And then you've got to go through all of the clinical trials, phase 1s, phase 2s, phase 3, and then show that this particular product is going to be good over a period of years. That alone, if it works perfectly, is going to take a decade.
There might be a need or even an urgent call for an entity of excitement out there that's completely disruptive, that's not beholden to bureaucratic strings and processes.
So we really do have a problem of how the world perceives influenza, and it's going to be very difficult to change that unless you do it from within and say, I don't care what your perception is, we're going to address the problem in a disruptive way and in an iterative way, because you do need both.
But it is not too crazy to think that an outbreak of a novel avian virus could occur in China somewhere. We could get the RNA sequence from that, beam it to a number of regional centers, if not local, if not even in your home at some point, and print those vaccines on a patch and self-administer.
So it becomes very clear looking at this clip and looking at how they talk about it, it becomes very clear that this is super, super important. See, this was officially before we saw COVID. And you also had people like Bill Gates and others travel the world for many years and decades, advocating for vaccinating the whole world, for giving everybody vaccinations. And I always asked myself, well, what for or what against? That was always a side note. It always seemed to be more important to get the point across that we need to get everybody injected. So the question, of course, was what against and how and when and where. And these questions have been answered over the past years. Of course, it has happened, right? It has happened. Now let's make a full stop here, move forward, see if we can connect the dots, okay? The idea has shifted. As far as I can remember back, the answer for every problem that we faced as mankind was more technology. Always. It was always more technology. Even though more technology created greater problems and bigger problems, the answer was again more technology, right? This is what's been happening. But the idea has shifted over the past years. At least now they're showing us this clearly, from technology outside of our body to our body literally becoming the technology. I mean, the world has, in the last 2 to 3 years, the world has become more aware of people like Klaus Schwab and his World Economic Forum, and also about how much influence they have, right? I mean, this is really important to see. Klaus Schwab himself actually publicly shared how much influence they have over world leaders and over cabinets and governments. Let's look at this clip here.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
So you see, they are very open about this. They're discussing this openly. They're not hiding it anymore, which makes it a lot easier for the people to see this. Of course, you have to be willing to connect the dots. But what is it that they want so badly? Why? What is the thing here? The thing is, and this is coming from a spiritual battle, is really to use what we have, the human spirit, as the engine, and this being like the battery that powers the artificial grid, and turn us, that we perceive ourselves to be human beings, turn us into completely transhumanist beings, bio-robots in the beginning, and later post-humans. So basically something that has nothing to do with our biological makeup anymore, and also probably not our spiritual and our mental makeup, because it will be interjected, intertwined, and infused with artificial intelligence. It is really transhumanism, what they're wanting to do. They are openly saying, the World Economic Forum, these people that influence prime ministers and presidents and congresses and houses of parliaments, decision makers, they are wanting to do this here. Look closely.
Speaking, we're talking about improving biology and redesigning organisms for beneficial purposes. It's going to allow us to not just edit genomes, but also, and importantly, write a new code for life. We'll have right-level permissions. We already started to see some of that this year. COVID-19 vaccines, they make use of engineered code in the form of messenger RNA. What's on the horizon are diminished reality glasses that look very much like what I'm wearing, that would allow you to remove things from your point of view, from your view, whether that's garbage or other people.
If you listen to this, if you have a human spirit, if you have a connection to God, the Creator, it is absolutely outrageous what these people are saying, but they don't have that. You see, they are most of them, this cabal of transhumanists that want to unleash this on all of humanity. They are mostly atheists. They think the idea of God is ludicrous. Of course, they do believe in a higher power, secretly, most of them anyways, because they worship the darkness. They worship Satan. They worship Moloch. They just don't tell you openly. And what they're wanting to do is create this AI God that will completely rule over this world. This sounds so dystopian. It sounds like the villain from one of the Bond movies or something. But as a matter of fact, I mean, look at Klaus Schwab in this picture here and tell me what you see. You know, a guy with a heavy German accent and a dark robe? Well, can't make that stuff up. Another very influential person in this movement is a guy named Ray Kurzweil. And Ray Kurzweil is a futurist, a speaker, an author, an inventor who has huge influence over Silicon Valley, big tech, and he's been steering the debate about artificial intelligence and the future of non-humanity for such a long time. Listen what he has to say about the next years for mankind.
I'm Ray Kurzweil. I'm an inventor, author, and futurist. Well, we're going to become increasingly non-biological to the point where the non-biological part predominates and the biological part is not that important anymore. The non-biological part, the machine part, will be so powerful it can completely model and understand the biological part. We'll also have non-biological bodies. We can create bodies with nanotechnology. We can create virtual bodies in virtual reality that the virtual reality will be as realistic as real reality. The virtual bodies will be as detailed and convincing as real bodies. Our intelligence is directed towards a body, but it doesn't have to be this frail biological body that's subject to all kinds of failure modes. We'll be routinely able to change our bodies very quickly, as well as our environments, in virtual reality, but it will feel very real. We'll ultimately be able to do that with real reality too, like self-organizing swarms of nanobots that can link themselves up into a virtual body. In addition to radical life extension, we're going to have radical life expansion. We're going to have millions of virtual environments to explore. We're going to literally expand our brains. Right now, we only have 300 million pattern recognizers organized in a grand hierarchy that we create ourselves in our neocortex. But we can make that 300 billion or 300 trillion. We can expand it.
One of the biggest selling points for these transhumanists, because it's always about how do you sell this so you make it irreversible, but how do you sell this to the people? It's always the medical field, right? I mean, we've seen this over the past years, that the medical solution is what got most people into this field and what will continue to turn them more and more into this. What they're wanting to create is the Internet of Bodies, and they've already begun, and I think on a large scale now, this has already started. And clips like these are what they're showing people and kind of making it, appealing and making it logical, the next step, okay? So watch this.
The Internet of Bodies, or IOB, is actually an ecosystem. It's a bunch of devices that are connected to the internet that contain software and that either collect personal health data about you or can alter the body's function. We think of the Internet of Bodies as this collection of all these devices as well as all the data that the devices are gathering about you. And in healthcare, Internet of Bodies has been around for quite a while. With the advent of the internet, it makes a lot of sense to connect your pacemaker to the internet so that your doctor can be automatically notified if something weird happens, if there's an anomaly. It's natural in a lot of ways to want to understand more about your body, how it functions, how well it's doing.
IOB devices could revolutionize healthcare. Unprecedented amounts of personal health data could inform treatment plans that are completely tailored to a patient's needs.
There are pills now that have an electronic sensor that let a healthcare provider know whether you have taken the medication. Consumers should be wary of IOB devices because as it's becoming more and more popular, all of this intimate data is being collected, arguably more intimate data than we've ever really recorded before. There's no clarity on what is being done with that data.
Here's the truth from my perspective, and this is what I've never said before. I actually do not believe that real, natural, pure, organic beings that we perceive ourselves to be, I believe to be, I don't believe we currently, short of destroying all of artificial intelligence across the world, I don't believe we can currently win this war against AI, because that's the war we're up against. However, I also don't think this was ever the real solution. I think it works differently. And what brought me to this point of more than hope, deepest inspiration, was once again the book series, The Ringing Cedars, that I've been rereading for over 10 years now. And for the first time in my life, I was introduced to the vision of a post-digital, a post-technology future. See, I couldn't imagine this. I was never an early adopter. I was never one to jump on, the newest tech or the newest whatever. I never played video games and all that. So this was never my world anyways. But I am using, obviously, technology every day. I'm using a vehicle and I'm using other devices. So yes, I'm very much still using that. But I never thought about the possibility of a future that wouldn't include technology, wouldn't include computers, until I was introduced to the Ringing Cedar Books and the vision of a culture that was long lost but is now reappearing, and that Anastasia, or Anastasia, however you want to pronounce it, she speaks about this amazing original culture that we all used to share. And what she's so clearly stating is that mankind has been at this point so many times where technology has taken over, the age of technocracy, and AI ruled, and civilizations have fallen because of it, have disappeared because of it, because they have lost their human spirit, they've lost their connection to their divinity. And the truth is, I've come to understand over all these years that technology is our downfall in and of itself. We need so much destruction to make it happen. We need to mine Mother Earth. We need to dig and drill and hurt Mother Earth more and more and more. We need to pull out all the things that we need. Then we turn it into technology. Then we need electricity and internet and everything to power it. And then we need to constantly maintain it because it breaks down and it creates problems and it creates more problems. And I've come to understand that what we're doing with this technology anyways is trying to mimic very primitively and infinitely inferior to our real technology, this beautiful being that we are. We're trying to mimic our true abilities, like everything from a healing ray that we all have within us. We all can heal actually from an absolutely profound mind, spirit, body connection, from this supercomputer that is beyond anything we could possibly ever invent, that can, remote view and telekinesis and telepathy and all these things that are so natural actually to us. But as we use technology, we forget about these things. And the more we forget about these things, the more we need technology to supplement for it. And it makes it sick. It put us into the state that we're in. So actually, what I'm saying here for the first time, and what I believe the future is, we need to prepare as best as we can for a post-technology world, and actually imagine a world without all these things, without the computers, without the phones and the tablets, without internet, at least the artificial internet. Not the real internet will still exist. It's the field of all information. It will be there. But I truly believe that we will only fulfill our true potential as divine co-creators when we move past the age of technology, past the age of digital and AI, and return to the most natural state that we could be in, which was a divine culture. I've come to believe that. Once, for a short period of time in my life, maybe 5 minutes, I bought into the theory that, we went from Stone Age to where we're now. This was the evolution. It's, of course, ludicrous. It's a bunch of lies, Darwinism, all of that, a bunch of lies. But, we live and we learn and we hopefully become wiser. So what I am saying very clearly is I encourage you all to walk with this thought. Can you imagine a world post-technology? Can you imagine that everything you could possibly need is within you? Mother Earth provides that we can actually live in beautiful families, kins, communities, groups, and come to the fullest of our potential. I'm not saying this is happening tomorrow. I'm not saying this is happening in a year. But I want to prepare you, or at least encourage you to prepare, that you might lose access to this technology and to the internet very soon anyways. I believe what is coming, and what will be a cutoff point for many people, is when they introduce biometric IDs as a prerequisite to use the internet, to use certain technologies, and so on and so forth. And at that point, that'll be the latest exit point for millions and millions like myself, like us. We will never move into this grid, because that is when you're in, and you're in for good. And so we will not do this. And this is coming. I just think this is the big split of the timelines, of the visions. And it is coming very soon. And I don't think we currently have access on a large scale to these abilities to actually deal with AI once and for all. I believe we will have that in the future. And I also believe that those who are falling for AI, for an artificial transhumanist future, will eventually down a road, look at real human beings and will eventually want to turn over again. How and when this will exactly happen, I don't know. But I believe this is the future. Here, I've said it. I believe we cannot currently beat AI. We cannot make it disappear, because we would have to destroy everything. And that, of course, would result in mass casualties. And that would go on us, and that's simply not acceptable. We already are witnessing a mass extinction right now, a mass human extinction process that is happening. So we are looking into a true organic, natural future where we return to the land, live with each other, become real humans again. It wasn't that long in this country, on this land here in America, that people lived that way, with the land, harmoniously for the very most part, beautifully, with beautiful cultures. I believe we can return to that again, a true divine culture. Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon.